Mic check. Good. Yeah, let's go do. Hello, hello. Testing 1, 2, 3. Oh boy. Nope. One more thing. Okay, hello. Okay, hello. Okay, hello. Hello, hello. Okay, hello. Hello, hello. Okay, hello. Hello, hello. I think we're good. All right. I think we are good. Good to go. It's around 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and you guys are watching Late Night Game Dev channel. My name is Charles, and I am your host for today. Well, actually, I am always be your host. So, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to look into and perhaps start to play with LLM. But for context, um, yeah, I was just kind of doing some little bit of research off stream, just doing some little bit of thinking too as well, and because I looked at FL Studios. I did ask, about if it's gonna be free. They have a 21 day trial. Don't want to quite use that just yet. Also looking at Reaper 2 with the 60-day free trial before we gotta go ahead and buy it for home use for $60. But excuse me. But the problem issue is that um, since I'm kind of really really new, I'm kind of wanting to go ahead and start to really learn how things do work. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the free resources. Just to kind of go through the process of, hey, just learning a software, learning the concepts, and really go ahead and play around with the music. And I understand is that for some of you guys there'd be preferences for one over the other. I mean, Reaper was used in Hollow Knight. Um, I think it was FL Studios. You know what? Let me just go click here and click. FL Studios Hyper Light Drifter, probably a good game I could play. I should play. Undertale, Celeste, and Hollow Knight for Reaper, and SuperTux. You know what? That is probably another game I should check out as well. But and that being said, let's go ahead and jump right to it. In this stream, I kind of want to make these segments of stream to kind of go through. This is in a way kind of a, I guess, live journaling. I'm guessing live devlog journaling. I know that for a lot of developer logs, right? Or in videos, on especially on YouTube, they always would tell you like how to do this and how to do that. Or my experience is that they truncate everything down to one, you know, from their what how many hours they worked to one video, and though conventional wisdom does tell me that I should do it that way as well, but I actually wanted to go ahead and preserve the essence, and I really said the moments that really can build to show the hard work behind behind success, and to give folks an encouragement for that. But yeah, so in this stream, we're also going to be watching videos and reacting to them as well, but reacting in a way, and this is also me telling myself that, hey, be humble. You're a newbie. Sure, you play instruments, learned a little bit of a music theory, back in high school, but you know, it's always good to have a humble heart, humble mindset, and try to learn as much as you can, and just ask questions. All right. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and dive into LMM stuff. Not LLM. I'm sorry. Not multi-language model. LMMS. We're diving into that. And so I already went ahead and downloaded it. Not sure if you guys can see this well, but this is kind of a bit of their UI. Enable tooltips, miscellaneous. You can go to the website at LLMS. I think LMS. Maybe org. Oh. Nope. Nope. Not this one. Maybe. Yeah. .io. Okay. So go to here, download it. There's stuff for Mac, Windows, even Linux too as well, if I remember correctly. But anyhow, since we're on Windows, let's go ahead and do this. Okay. So I guess, heck, I don't know. Click OK. Please don't that way change the effect until you restart LMMS. Oh, okay. Oh, snap. Okay, you know what? Let's go to youtube.com, and then we're going to go ahead and find out LMS tutorial. Oh, okay. Great. Skill Factory 1 year ago. 3 years. Okay, you know what? Let's just click on this.
Hello. Welcome to this tutorial dedicated to LMMS, a free and open source digital audio workstation, or DAW, available for Linux, Mac OS.
DAW. Digital free. Wait, what does DAW stands for? DAW. Meaning? Digital audio workstation. Okay, just to say digital. Can you just say like software? Digital audio software. Digital audio software. DAS. Okay.
And Windows, providing a great free alternative to software like FL Studio. And it is still under development by enthusiasts. In just 11 minutes, we are going to see all the basics you need to know to start using it. When you open LMMS, it starts with a new, empty project.
Yep.
The interface consists of different windows that you can open and close using the buttons in the top left corner. Your main project is composed inside the song editor, putting together audio samples or custom patterns, realizing percussions or melodies. Let's start seeing how to build custom patterns using the beat and bass line editor.
Actually, you know what? Let me kind of.
editor.
Yeah.
A pattern is a list of tracks that play together.
Yeah, you know what? Let me just go back a little bit. Yeah. I probably next thing you should look at is like what is a chiptune, because I think I know what it is, but you know what? If in doubt, Google it out. So, yeah.
Using the beat and bass line editor. A pattern is a list of tracks that play together, each representing a specific sound like beats, drums, percussions, melodies, or sounds from synthesizers, such as the default kicker. You can build your pattern by clicking on any step to turn it on or off, and testing how this sounds with the player buttons in the top left corner. You can add more tracks by dragging beats, bass lines, loops, and other elements from the My Samples panel on the left. Click and hold any sample to preview it, and drag and drop it onto the beat and bass line editor to add it.
Well,
you can also import your own samples in WAV, FLAC, and OGG format. To do this, go to Edit, Settings, and open Paths to get the location of the gig folder, which is where you can paste your samples inside.
okay.
At this point, you can open such gig folder from the My Samples panel and import these in a new track. Consider that LMMS does not accept any MP3 file format yet. LMMS does not include...
Wait, hold on. So it doesn't say accept it here. Let me... LMMS accepts P3? MP3? Oh. Artists can be exported. Oh, okay. Well, it's 2017. I'm just kind of wondering if it does a programmed MP3 support into. Oh. So I think it currently does do it. Okay, I mean, probably not nearly needed to go ahead and check it out, but I definitely do think that, yeah, MP3s is kind of very popular, so should support it. Interesting. Let's get going.
Features to record from your microphone. However, you can always use free software like Audacity to perform your recordings, and then import the result into LMMS using its gig folder. Do not miss our Audacity tutorial to check out how to perform your recordings. To build your pattern, turn on and off steps as you feel, keeping the pattern in playback continuously. If any single step sounds for a longer time, such as loops, you may not place steps too close by, or you risk overlaps. Alternatively, you may use sample tracks to handle longer sounds, especially if played just once. Add a sample track and import the sample file onto its orange region. This is played once per pattern with a clear view of its waveform. By default, the pattern lasts 1 bar and follows a time signature of 4/4, so 4 beats per bar, with each beat under separated colors.
Oh.
You can change the time signature and check the time display in either seconds or bars by clicking on it. You can also change the pattern duration with the buttons in the top right corner by either adding or removing bars. Now let's see how to manage the pattern tracks. On the left side, the first button allows...
Wait, hold on. Let me Let me get this bar. Where's the instrument plugin? My samples, my presets, my home. Okay, I guess create a new project. CPU segment 4x4. Okay, I get that. Alright, this is. Okay. Uh. Oh, deletes middle. Oh, okay, middle mouse button. Play files for the gig. Probably go for the beat baseline editor. Okay, where is the beat baseline editor? Oh. Okay, you know what the heck? Okay, building a pattern. Okay, there's a gig file. So he had
corner.
Okay, wait. What? Okay, blah blah. Okay, so we got to here. Go to here. Oh. Okay.
Or custom patterns, realizing percussions, or melodies. Let's start seeing how to build custom patterns using the beat and bassline editor. A pattern is a...
Okay. It could be nice if they actually kind of said, you know, where's the beat baseline pattern? Show high saw editor. Here we go. Okay, so this little button right here. So, I'm guessing. Oh, perfect. Oh, okay. So solo. Oh, mute this track. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Oh. So that's a kicker. Okay. Let's go back and over here.
In our tutorial, we are going to see how to work with synths only. By default, patterns are provided with a default kicker synth. But you can import up.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I just gotta do it.
Others from the instrument plugins panel on the left. At this point, click on any synth name to check its properties and preview its notes and octaves. As you turn on steps on the pattern, you only get a single default note.
Okay, whoa.
To start composing, right-click on any step and go to Open in Piano Roll, checking the synth name on top. On the left side, the piano roll shows notes as letters and numbers as octaves. You can click on these to test how the synth sounds. To drop notes, enable the Draw mode and click on the piano roll grid. As you compose, the pattern visualization changes, showing the notes and their placement. If your composition extends over a longer duration, make sure to enlarge the pattern until you match the pattern bars with the piano roll bars, indicated by small black lines. You can compose more easily by enabling loop playback. Simply right-click and hold while dragging on the timeline to create a loop region, and click on Enable Loop Points button to continuously play back such region. On top, you can adjust the tempo and BPM to set how to convert beats and bars into seconds. This is particularly important for MIDI compositions, which are not yet rendered in time. The higher the tempo, the faster the rhythm in the composition, without affecting rendered samples. You always have full control over your notes. You can click and drag a note to move it. You can also click and drag any edge to adjust the note length and time. Avoid snappings with the Alt key down. To remove a note, simply right-click on it. To select and move multiple notes, switch to Select mode and click and drag to select the desired notes in order to move them together.
Oh, okay.
At the bottom, you can also fine-tune the properties of each note, adjust velocity to control the volume, and click again to set the stereo panning instead.
Yeah, I guess if you want to do primo picassimo or adagio, or a lot of the audios, no, whatever. The thing is like, yeah, okay, so you got that much control. Cool.
Now that you have your patterns ready, you can import them into the song editor to build your project. This gets several tracks representing synths, sample tracks, and one track for each pattern. There is also an automation track to control various parameters over time, but we won't see it in this beginner tutorial. The song editor has a timeline in bars and beats, following the tempo set on top. To add a pattern, just click on the timeline to drop a segment, such as a single and complete playback of it. To zoom in on the timeline, use your mouse wheel while holding down the Control or Command key. To import audio samples, you can turn on any pattern that includes it in a sample track, or simply add a sample track directly in the song editor. In this case, enable any segment, and click on it to import and place a sample straight away.
Ooh.
On the left, you can manage all your tracks as seen in the beat and bassline editor. You can also click and drag segments to move these in time, and adjust their duration by dragging from their edges. Right-click on any to remove it. To play back the song, use the player controls in the top left corner, or use the spacebar key. You can also loop playback the song as seen for the piano roll. On top, you can also adjust the master volume for your entire project song, and the pitch for your synthesizer's audio. These adjustments are applied on patterns as well when working. With the beat and bassline editor. To mix and fine-tune your tracks, you can open the FX Mixer. This provides options to manage volume and apply effects to selected tracks from either any pattern or the entire song. By default, it only includes the master track, such as the overall sound of your project from the song or the current pattern. To control more tracks, simply add a new FX channel and connect a track by going to its gear button and then to FX, choosing the appropriate channel. Consider that you can't connect entire patterns or sample tracks inside the mixer. At this point, you can select any channel to mute and solo it, adjust its volume, or even add effects on the right. These include EQ, filters, compression, delays, and much more with their own set of properties you can adjust to achieve the desired sound. Effects are applied in order, creating a chain. You can also turn on, off any effect.
Okay, wow, that's quite a lot. Probably kind of want to. I'm thinking about maybe perhaps mastering just like how to create a pattern for now. Probably gonna create a basic pattern for this.
And right-click on any to change its position in the chain, or remove it. You can use the WD knob to set the ratio between the original sound and the effect, the decay knob to determine when the effect turns off, and the gate knob to set a threshold below which the effect is not applied. Once your song is ready, you go to Export Current Project in the top left corner. Choose Name and Destination folder, and then set file format, sample rate, and bit depth according to your preferences. If you only want to export the content within any active loop region, make sure to check the box Export Between Loop Markers. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial. Do not miss the opportunity to visit our YouTube channel and our official website to learn more tips and tricks completely for free.
Okay, well, that's a very nice preview. Definitely would give it a thumbs up. Here, let me grab a list. List for YouTube credits for this video. Okay, that's very interesting. I think the next thing I'm probably going to do right now is chiptune 8 bits and electronic. Let's do what is a chiptune? Okay, so a chiptune is a style of electronic music that uses sound chips of classic video game consoles, computers, and arcade machines. 8-bit music. Okay. What is there a? Okay, you know what? Let's go to YouTube. Here.
Try the strawberry shortcake snowball slush float and many more flavors in the Sonic app. Live free, eat Sonic.
Yeah, Sonic. I had Sonic for the first time when I was in Atlanta, and I say this as that, it doesn't taste good. I would say even a McDonald's Big Mac tastes much better than Sonic. I'm just sorry. Or otherwise, convince me otherwise, right? What's like their favorite stuff? What's like the thing to eat there? But, no bueno. Okay. Okay.
Mario has changed a lot over the years.
Oh, okay. Well, here, let's see. Become a great at Chiptune. What's Chiptune? How is it made? You know what? Maybe not that one. 1.1K. Real bits versus fake bits. Okay, I don't know what that means, but this seems to be not bad.
So you want to make chiptune music? Cool. Chiptune music utilizes the bleeps and bloops of old video game systems to create new music. Today I would like to teach you, yes you, the basics of making chiptune music. First we'll go over the hardware that's most commonly used for this and review the limitations of that hardware so that you can make this music as authentic as you want. Then we'll review some of the virtual instruments that have come out over the past few years that recreate and sample these sounds. Roll the intro. In the 70s, before home video game consoles took over the mainstream, most people got their bleep bloop fix at the arcade. However, there wasn't much of a standard. Some games only produced percussive sound effects, and some arcade cabinets didn't produce any sound at all.
Yeah.
The first real stab at a standard came with the Atari VCS, later known as the Atari 2600, and its Television Interface Adapter, or TIA for short. The TIA controlled both the audio and video output signals. On the audio side of things, it could utilize two voices at once, but the sounds were often pretty out of tune, to the point where the maker of the game Pressure Cooker, Gary Kitchen, figured out the TIA pitches that actually sounded good, and then hired a composer to write music using only those pitches. Fast forward a bit to the dawn of the Commodore 64, and we now have the Sound Interface Device, or SID for short. Or, if you're really edgy, you can call it the SID. This thing had 3 oscillators that could produce 4 different types of waveforms: square, triangle, sawtooth, and noise.
Oh, okay. So filling for the JSXF, we saw, I think we saw maybe 4. Yeah, the triangle, sawtooth, and square. Interesting.
If you don't know what those are, basically square, triangle, and sawtooth waveforms produce slightly different sounds, and noise is just noise. But that's not all. Then the SID could take those waveforms and apply an envelope generator and filters, which could change the timbre and character of the sound. And audio just kept evolving as new consoles hit the market. The NES could spit out 5 channels of audio at the same time, including a channel that could play samples. Really bad sounding samples, but still samples. The Sega Genesis could also do samples, and it could pump out 6 channels of audio at the same time.
Sorry. Yep, I used to play this. Yeah, Sega Genesis. No, it's the Game Gear, not Genesis. But still, it was cool.
And it used FM synthesis, which Yamaha popularized with its synthesizers around the same time. Game audio kept evolving and evolving, but the time of the Genesis and the Super Nintendo is where this era of game music comes to an end. Once we hit the magical world of 3D, audio production had evolved to the point where things could start sounding more reminiscent of movie soundtracks. So why the history lesson? Well, it's important to understand the progression of things if you want to make your chiptune music authentic. For example, if you're trying to make something reminiscent of the NES, you need to understand the channels. There was only 1 channel for triangle waves, so if you have 2 triangle waves going on at once, you're entering into some dicey territory. So with all that out of the way, let's see how you can make your own chiptune music. There are 2 routes you can go to get the sounds that you're going to need. You can either take the sounds right from the original hardware, or you can use software that emulates or samples those sounds. I'm not one to normally go the hardware route, mostly because I don't trust this thing to last as long as this thing. But I do know a bit about it, and it is the most authentic way to make chiptune music. Possibly the most common hardware to use is the original Game Boy with the Little Sound DJ cartridge. This thing turns your Game Boy into a music maker, and you can even use a link cable to use it with 2 Game Boys at once.
Whoa.
Unfortunately, these are no longer in production. You can still occasionally find one being sold online, but many people have actually turned to emulating the Little Sound DJ using Game Boy emulators. Now, the drawback of this is that you'll lose the little random noise that the Game Boy hardware would make, so you lose some of that authenticity. And at that point, I'd personally just turn to using software instruments. You could also put the LSDJ software on a backup cartridge if you really want. But there are alternatives. Cat Skull Electronics, which is a great company name by the way, sells the Teensy Boy Pro, which allows you to use MIDI to use Game Boy sounds with other MIDI devices. They also sell the Fama MIDI, which fulfills a similar purpose for the NES. If you go back further than those game systems, things get a little trickier. For example, you need to learn how to run downloaded software on your Commodore 64 to get trackers running to make music out of that thing. And I don't know anything about that, so I'm not going to lead you astray. What I can tell you about is software. There are a plethora of software instruments that emulate and sample the sounds of classic game consoles. Now, like I mentioned earlier when talking about the Game Boy, you lose a little bit of that random noise hardware would make, so purists aren't huge on this, but software is definitely the more convenient route, and if you're combining these sounds with more modern instrumentation, those little hardware sounds get lost in the mix most of the time anyway. I'm going to talk about 3 particular products here: Magical 8-Bit Plugin, Chip Sounds, and Super Audio Cart. All three of these run on both Windows and Mac operating systems and work with many digital audio workstations. Magical 8-bit plugin is the simplest and cheapest of the three, coming in at the low price of free.
Okay. So let's see, the most replayed. Yeah, since I'm probably gonna go with LMS, probably gonna skip this section.
So yeah, they're similar, but the newer one is definitely nicer to look at. Chip Sounds is made by Plog, I don't know how to say it. And it's basically a supersized version of Magical 8-bit plugin. It emulates the sound chips of various consoles. You're able to choose from a ton of different chips. Remember the TIA and SID chips I mentioned earlier? Yeah, they're here. And you can even choose from a few different iterations of them. It boasts custom waveforms, multi-samples, drums, and even classic arcade samples from games like Donkey Kong and Space Invaders. You can run up to 8 different sounds from one instance of Chip Sounds, and each can be affected by a ton of modulation settings and other effects. As of this recording, Chip Sound Super Audio Card is the last plugin we'll look at here. This one actually requires the sampler Contact, or the free Contact player, to run.
Okay. Okay.
So it's a bit more than Chip Sounds. There is also a demo version called Super Audio Boy that you can try out for free, but it requires the full version of Contact, which isn't.
Okay, Family Tracker. Okay, So, what? Yeah, okay, I mean, yeah, I definitely do see that there's the Chiptune 8 bits. So I think not even but like maybe Game Boy Color, like 2020, no, like 25 years ago, perhaps. Yeah, 25 years ago. If I kind of want to use a little bit modern one. You know, I guess I gotta just finagle around with MMS. But I think I kind of got an idea what our chiptunes are at this point. But so let's go give Terra money VGM Temari. Let's give VGM some credits on this. What is chiptune? Chiptune. I'm just gonna say understanding, at least a basic understanding of chiptune. But now, I think after kind of listening into what he was saying, maybe a better kind of contextual is to understand what a guide on making video game music. So maybe Zectro? Well, it's like 7 months ago, so
Another reason to be a good driver is saving money.
Yeah, the Drive Safe and Save app can help make your car insurance more affordable.
You probably clicked on this video either because you're a game developer looking to make music for your game, or, like me, you want to create music for other game developers. Well, luckily, this video is for you, no matter which of those people you are. I'll be going through multiple tips in this video, as well as where you can try out your skills at the end. Also, these are tips, not rules. Your creativity is more important than any of the advice I will be giving you. While basic music theory is highly recommended, it's not needed. When I first started, I didn't know any theory. I just put notes together until they sounded good. Don't let music theory stop your desire to make music, but if you're willing to learn it, please do. First, we need a DAW, which is a digital audio workstation. I personally use FL Studio, but there are many others out there. Reaper is another good choice. It has a 60-day free trial with no limitations, and you can still use it after the 60 days are up. I'd still recommend buying a license though after the trial is over to support the developers. Most DAWs come with stock instruments, but they aren't always the best sounding ones. Thankfully, there are many third-party plugins available. Do you want something retro? If so, I would recommend getting the NES VST and the Magical 8-bit plug, which are both free and great for a retro sound. If you're willing to spend some money, then Super Audio Cart is an incredible choice. It has sounds for many retro consoles as well as a ton of customization. Maybe you want something modern.
Damn.
Well, there are many plugins for that. In fact, I will link a spreadsheet to over 500 free plugins that you can look through. Other than that, I can only recommend that you check out videos about free realistic sounding plugins, as this all depends on what instruments you're looking for. And finally, you might be looking for a mix of the two, kind of like Undertale. If you're going for a Toby Fox approach, then you'll want to use sound fonts. Sound fonts are a collection of sound files that can be played using a sound font player. If you're using FL Studio, then there should be a sound font player built in. Otherwise, you can download S4Zando, which is a third-party sound font player. As for finding sound font, you can head to the link in the description for the Musical Artifacts website. You can search games like Earthbound, Undertale, Nintendo, and many more. If it has the SF2 tag, then it's a sound font. I will also link a spreadsheet to all of the sound fonts used in Undertale and Deltarune, as well as which songs they were used in. Before we actually start making music, we need to understand the context in which the music will be used. This is what the setting is, the mood and environment. For example, if the scene is set in a haunted house, then you'd most likely want to have some creepy music playing in the background. But maybe in this haunted house, the characters are in a positive, cheerful mood. In that case, you could use happier music, but use instruments associated with a haunted house, or apply effects like reverb to make it fit in with the environment. Just do whatever you think works best.
So, okay, you know what? Ooh, man, this is actually really good. So, okay, setting. Think about setting, mood. Think about.
Now that we know what direction we want our song to head in, we can actually start making it. So, where do we start? Now, this part is different with many people. Some prefer to start with a melody, others with chords, and some with drums. If you really don't know where to start, then maybe try picking a scale. Trying to figure out where to start introduces so many options, and it might...
So, don't know where to start? Scale.
Might be a lot to handle. A scale will reduce the amount of options to choose from, but will make it easier to start writing. Most DAWs will have an option to highlight the notes in the scale you selected, and/or snap the notes to the scale. There's no right or wrong way to begin, but whatever you do, start small. The thought of making an entire song may be overwhelming, so just make the song piece by piece and don't...
Man, oh my goodness. I think this stream is going to be like, learn how to make a video game song. Yeah. So let me go ahead and change this. Is how to make a video BGM.
Don't worry about the final composition. The melody...
Actually, one. Okay, so don't know where to start. Look at scales. Start small.
Composition. The melody is what makes the player remember your song even after they've stopped playing.
What the player they stop. Okay. Interesting.
Now, making a melody involves a lot of trial and error, but I've got a couple of tips that should help you. First is the ABAC writing format.
Okay. Tips. ABAC writing.
You can cut our melody into 4 sections: A, B, A, and C. The A section is your main melody /
A means main melody. Oh.
theme, which is ideally the most memorable section. The B
Most section B. Okay, different melody.
B section is a different melody that adds variation. Then we go back to melody.
Okay, that adds variation. Okay, let's go back to A. Oh.
A, and finally finish off with C, which introduces a new melody.
Which introduces a new melody. Okay, introduces a new melody.
Let me show you an example.
Building your own American Family Insurance roofline?
Yeah, life's better.
Okay. You know what? Let's just start back here.
The B section is with C, which introduces a new melody. Let me show you an example.
Okay.
There are many other formats like this: ABAB, AABA, ABCD.
Okay. A B A B A B A B A Ba A B C D.
And many more. Now, for one of the biggest questions I've heard, how do I know if my melody is good? Ideally, your melody should be singable. By that,
How do you know if your melody is good? Should be.
I mean it shouldn't be overly complex and
Yeah, simplicity is good, not overly complex. Easy to.
should be easy to sing or hum. I'm going to show you two examples. Out of melody A and melody B, which is more singable?
First one.
Hopefully you chose melody A. If a
Yeah.
melody is too complex, then it will be a lot harder to remember. This last one is a term you've probably heard many times. Leitmotif. A leitmotif
Okay, I did not hear what leitmotif means. Yeah. Leitmotif.
is a melody generally associated with a character, place, or thing.
Oh, associated with character, place, or thing.
Usually, it's a character's theme that changes to match the scene's mood, but still connects to the character. Here are some examples of motifs from Undertale.
Oh, okay. You know, I probably bass, huh?
The bass provides both the rhythmic and harmonic foundation. Harmony in music means playing multiple different notes at the same time. Let me show you a few examples. The bass provides both the rhythmic and harmonic.
Okay, provides rhythmic plus harmonic foundation.
Harmonic foundation. Harmony in music means playing multiple different notes at the same.
Harmony. Playing.
Same time. Let me show you a few examples from the website studybass.com. Typically, the bass follows the root note of a chord. The root note is the note in the chord's name. For example,
Oh my gosh. Ooh, drinking from the fire hose. I feel like note in the chord's name.
the root note of C major would be C. Here's an extremely basic bass line. Now here's a bass line that uses the exact same notes, but with more rhythm. Usually, I figure out the bass notes after I've created my melody, as that's how I build my chords.
Author figures out bass. Well, bass. What do you say again?
As that's how I build. Usually, I figure out the bass notes after I've created my melody, as that's how I.
Author figures out.
I build my chords. The chords define the mood of a song. They
Chords define the mood of the song.
function as harmonic support and rhythm. Now, this.
Oof, damn. Harmonic support. Oh my gosh, man. Rhythm.
This is where music theory helps a lot. But if you don't know much music theory, then don't worry, because there's a useful tool for you. There's a website called Chord Player, link in the description. You can make your own chord progression.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead. Chord Player. Or
and then export them as MIDI to import to your DAW. I'd advise you not to rely on it though, as learning to build chords yourself is much better and faster in the long run.
best to learn for the long run. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's definitely right. I got, yeah, for the long run, definitely learn the chords and stuff.
As I said in the last section, I build my chords off of bass notes. So create a bass line.
Okay. Chords comes bass notes. So create bass line
first, and then use the Chord Player website to figure out what chords work best for you.
bass note names.
If you already know how scales work, then you should be able to build chords by yourself. Here's a chord progression I made built from the bass line. Drums are used to define the song's rhythm and pace. If you're making a battle theme, then you'd likely want some fast-paced drums. Maybe you're in a jazz bar, then you want some slower, quieter drums to define the song's rhythm and pace. Drums are used to define the song's rhythm and pace.
Redefines with them. Rhythm pace.
If you're making a battle theme, then you'd likely want some fast-paced drums. Maybe you're in a jazz bar, then you want some slower, quieter drums with a more complex pattern. Whatever the scene is, you should make sure the drums match it. You may not even need drums. Remember the Chord website I showed you? It also has a drum machine. I recommend trying to make a couple of patterns to get used to making drums. On itch.io, you can find many game jams. In a game jam, you're given a theme and have to create a game around that theme within a set time frame. Many people participate as teams and actively look for other people to join them, including composers. You'll need to look at the jam-specific rules about teams first though. I'll be joining one next month which is made specifically for composers. You make a soundtrack for a fake game and get rated at the end. And yes, anyone can join. There are many game jams made for beginners, so have a look through and see if there's anything that catches your eye. Thank you if you've made it this far. I hope after watching this join them has a drum machine. I recommend theme and have to create a game around for other people to join them, including composers. You'll need to look at the jam specific rules about teams first though. I'll be joining one next month which is made specifically for composers. You make a soundtrack for a fake game and get rated at the end.
Soundtrack. Okay. Interesting.
And yes, anyone can join. There are many game jams made for beginners, so have a look through and see if there's anything that catches your eye. Thank you if you've made it this far. I hope after watching this video, you can get started on your video game composing journey, and if you have any questions, then please let me know and I will try to answer them.
New DAW.
Okay, wow. That actually is very, very helpful. Yeah, definitely Zecto, man, you're gonna save my butt. Here, I'm gonna give 2 credits for these folks because this is very, very good. Because yeah, I've never done any music composition before, but hey, what's better time than to start now, right? So definitely gonna give credits. Okay. So I gotta think about the setting and the mood, right? The setting and the mood definitely gonna be space theme. Which, you know what? Let me.
I love making video game music, and I wanted to challenge myself by trying to make a song in 1 minute, 10 minutes, and 1 hour. And this challenge was much harder than I expected. Like that. No! Not like that, no. Okay, well, we're already done. This is what we got. Definitely not perfect. The 1 minute song went as you'd expect, so hopefully the 10-minute song will go a lot smoother. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, I do want to start off again with SGM. You know, it's nice to have 10 minutes, but I still feel like I need to work quick. I mean, I do. It's 10 minutes to make a song. Now, I kind of liked the jumping chords. Maybe we just make some, like, nice little happy theme.
Okay.
We just have a little, like, chord change here.
Okay. How to write drum parts? Yeah, okay, I got it. Riot Games, 6 years ago. You know what, I definitely liked it, and I'm gonna subscribe to this guy. Here, let me take a look at this one.
It's 2023 and you don't know how to make orchestral melodies yet? Well, let me show you how to do it. It's actually super easy. Grab a string and start out with some bass notes. I just have a 1/6 progression here. You don't need to get too complicated with this. Then just turn that into chords and try to use suspended second chords when you can. They sound pretty dark. Then just take that middle note of your chord and switch it around like I kind of did here. And for darker vibes, it's good to do half steps like I did here. Then get a staccato string, make a bouncy pattern with it like this, and pretty much for my pattern here I'm just playing that D throughout, and then alternating to that middle note of the chord. Layer your chords with a piano in a lower octave. This is going to add impact when the piano hits, and it's also going to fill up some of those lower frequencies. Layer the bass notes with the church bell, and add some little bell stutters in there. They always go hard. And then just throw in an opera vocal chop in there. And here's the full thing. It's 2023 and you don't know how to make orchestral melodies yet? Well, let me show you how to do it. It's actually super easy.
That's nice. That is very, very nice. So I know originally I said I'm going to want to try to play around with LMMS. Alright, but I want to get the combination. Honestly, if my choices, it seems as if like learning LMS is probably, you want. I thought about, yeah, sure, using LMS, but it's free. Okay, you know what? In table, add difficulty levels. Great for beginner, powerful piano roll sequence. Can be resource intensive or complex projects. Okay. You know what? Let's look at the Hyper Light Drifter background music. BGM. I just wanted to take a look here. Oh my gosh, this is so difficult to pick from. Yeah, definitely right now. Getting paralyzed by analysis. Oh, shit. I Oh, audio capability limited VST. Close UI, few professional grades similar. What? I'm just gonna look at this SuperTux. Oh. Oh, let's play it. No.
Come on.
Skip. That sounds like Pokemon. Simple beats for beginners, right? You know, I probably said out of the 3 best invest in time and in I wonder if it I want to invest a few weeks off from its customization. Tutorial help, but it's less plug and play. Payoff very high. Ooh. I really, really liked. I think. I mean, I did watch Undertale. I did watch some streamers play Undertale. Wasn't maybe I should play it too as well to kind of get a sense and feel for it. But I think that one thing that kind of really hit me really hard was just the scene with the Mantis Lords in Hollow Knight. It's like there's the rondo uh, theme that it was playing in the background music, and that really was just like magnifico. It's we want to understand what I mean. Now, so it looks like it's LMMS. Kind of, but with Zectro, he was showing FL Studios, I think, and it looks pretty nice, but and I feel like I'm okay with a slower start per se. I am feel like I am okay with a slow start because if you think about it, right, the bang for your dollars, um, you know, yeah, I guess the question is, like, a bigger question is, like, am I going to lose my momentum if I go ahead and actually learn Reaper over FL Studio, right? But from the looks of it, it seems like FL FL Studio looks like great to start off, but I'm kind of wondering. I'll look up here for personal use, commercial with a 60-day. Okay, it was with a free, highly custom workplace, lightweight, efficient CPU, may support all major plugin formats. There's got to be folks who actually, plugins for Reaper. Azure Light. So probably you can, and the JS ones are great too. You want to look things pretty, sounds good. Try the two cons one, but seriously, if you're just starting to develop your ears and skills first, then get distracted by any fancy toys. Okay, start with the Reaper's tutorial. They're extremely good. As a beginner, the only other plugins you ever actually need, for instance, like synthesizer and or piano. But if you give me regular stock ones up, you just get good results just fine. It's better to focus on getting better recording. What I need, I have a performance ratio. I recommend Tone Booster and Kilohertz, but those are. Okay, definitely. You know, yeah. let's look at Reaper, actually. Let's look at Reaper. Yeah, you know what? Let's probably take a look at this one.
グラ様とテースラがまたまたコラボするぞ。
どうだ、ゴッドになった我も。
If you don't play the drums, the task of writing parts for them can seem impenetrable. Whereas building up skills on one instrument, such as a horn or a piano, could theoretically transfer to writing for other instruments, drums are so different in how they're played and in their role in an ensemble that it requires a lot of extra knowledge just to get started. Today I want to talk about the drums, laying out the basics of how they work and how to write for them. For writing drum parts, the three essential things you need to understand are groove, form, and fills. A lot of writing grooves comes down to knowing the conventions of the genre that you're working in, but no matter what, you're going to need a short, repeated pattern that you can have the drums default to. Of course, we'll add the fills and shots and bells and whistles later, but we need a solid bedrock to support these extra flourishes. The style of music dictates what kind of groove is appropriate, but in any style, I think effective grooves have three distinct layers that I'm going to call the beat, the engine, and a constant. First up is establishing the beat. Rhythm.
Okay. Shoot. Okay. Okay, groove. Oh my gosh. To find the page. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna write this down. How to write drum parts for non-drummers. That's me. I'm not a drummer. Yeah, he's right. Because I definitely see like the drums has really a lot going on. I guess in a better way, it's like piano-ish, maybe. Piano has a lot going on. You can like play an orchestral orchestra music and piano version, right? Let's see, groove. Okay, let's listen again. Oh man.
Genre that you're working in, but no matter what, you're going to need a short, repeated pattern that you can have the drums default to. Of course, we'll add the fills. A lot of writing
Groove, forms, and fills.
grooves comes down to knowing the conventions of the genre that you're working in, but no matter what, you're going to need a short, repeated pattern that you can.
Okay. Short. Oh yeah, like boom, 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 boom. So maybe like that, you know. Short, repeated, repeatable pattern.
And have the drums default to. Of course, we'll add the fill.
For drums to default to. So yeah, the bedrock.
Fills and shots and bells and whistles later, but we need a solid bedrock to support these extra flourishes. The style of music dictates what kind of groove is appropriate, but in any style, I think effective grooves have three distinct layers that I'm going to call the beat, the engine, and a constant. First up is a step.
Oh gosh. Beat, engine,
Establishing the beat. Rhythms don't make sense without relation to an underlying pulse, and it's the drummer's job, fundamentally, to give the band that pulse. Specifically, it's typically the bass drum's job. Laying down a beefy low note on beats 1 and 3, a tactic used by many genres all around the world, does the job nicely. In drum notation, bass drum notes go on the bottom space of the staff, and for ease of reading, downward pointing stems will indicate that the notes are going to be played by one of the drummer's feet. Next, we need to make the pulse exciting, and doing this requires a rhythmic layer that goes against the pulse. I call this the engine because the dissonance of two contrasting rhythms is what gives a piece its sense of forward motion. The backbeat is indelibly carved into our public musical consciousness at this point. Accenting beats 2 and 4 on the snare while the kick drum hits beats 1 and 3 is the rhythmic foundation of almost all modern Western music. On a staff, the snare is on the space where C would be in treble clef, stem pointing up to indicate that it's played with the hands. Finally, we need a constant, or a continuous recurring sound that ties the layers together. This could be as simple as a hi-hat playing eighth notes, or the ringing of a cymbal, or something more complex like an ostinato pattern on a bell or stream of ghost notes in the snare. The constant is not supposed to get attention, it's supposed to be the This basic rock beat here, sometimes this continuous recurring consciousness at this point, the pulse exciting, and doing this requires a rhythmic layer that goes against the pulse. I call this the engine because the dissonance of two contrasting rhythms is what gives against the... Next, we need to make the pulse exciting, and doing this requires a rhythmic layer that goes against the pulse.
Rhythmic layer goes against the pulse. Exciting.
I call this the engine because the dissonance of two contrasting rhythms is what gives a piece its sense of forward motion. The backbeat is indelibly carved into our public musical consciousness at this point. Accenting beats 2 and 4 on the snare while the kick drum hits beats 1 and 3 is the rhythmic foundation of almost all modern Western music. On a staff, the snare is on the space where C would be in treble clef, stem pointing up to indicate that it's played with the hands. Finally, we need a constant, or a continuous recurring sound that...
Oh my gosh. Continuous...
ties the layers together. This could be
ties together.
as simple as a hi-hat playing eighth notes, or the ringing of a cymbal, or something more complex like an ostinato pattern on a bell or stream of ghost notes in the snare. The constant is not supposed to get attention, it's supposed to be the backdrop for the other layers of groove. But oftentimes, this layer will make explicit how the beat is being subdivided in the music, eighth notes or 16th notes or triplets or whatever. In drum notation, change the note head to an X to mark that the note is a symbol. The top line of the staff can be the hi-hat and the space above it can be the ride, but I've seen music do it the other way around as well. It always helps to write a note to clarify. This basic rock beat here perfectly exemplifies this concept. The kick lays down the beat, the snare gives us the engine, and these cymbals give us a constant stream of noise.
Wait, what?
Stream of noise. Other genres' basic drum conventions tend to fit into this framework too. In jazz, the ride lays down the beat, the constant layer is provided by the ringing of the cymbal, and the chick sound made by stomping on the hi-hat pedal accents beats 2 and 4 to make the engine. A note on the space below the staff with an X note head and the stem pointing down indicates that you hit the hi-hat pedal with your foot. A lot of older styles of music tend to take a steady kick drum beat and accent every upbeat in order to create a rhythmic engine. You can find this concept driving polka music, second line, bluegrass, and others, with the same exact idea used in styles conceived more recently, like techno, disco, ska, punk, the list goes on. Metal seems to flip our layers upside down, establishing the beat with a cymbal, while a stream of double kick drum hits creates our constant layer. Seems like subtle backdrop might not be the right description for this layer here, but I do think the kick drum fills that role in metal music. Now, Latin music tends to be more complicated, using multiple contrasting rhythmic patterns layered over top of one another. In a relatively simple style like bossa nova, the beat will be established by this kick drum pattern, while a clave rhythm layered over top provides the engine, and a layer of hi-hat or shaker or other percussion will tie it all together.
Oh my goodness.
Now, the deeper down the South American rabbit hole you go, the more complex each of these rhythmic layers get. Let's leave that for another time.
Yeah.
A fun inversion of the rock beat is the classic Motown groove because the snare establishes the beat by playing constant quarter notes, and offbeat kick drum hits create that rhythmic engine that we need. No matter what a drummer is playing, regardless of complexity, it will be rooted in a basic groove like one of these depending on the genre. So if you want to get beyond these most generic grooves and tailor drum parts so they fit your song specifically, it's best to start with something super simple like this and change it piece by piece. A helpful way to think about these changes is to keep in mind two rhythmic concepts: rhythmic approach notes and rhythmic anticipations. Rhythmic approach notes are notes that are played on the subdivision prior to a note you want to accent. So if I want to accent beat 4 in a rock beat, I can add a kick drum note before it to accentuate that snare hit. Using a 16th note to approach a target beat enhances this effect. Rhythmic anticipations are when a note is shifted one subdivision prior to its original place. This creates a strong sense of forward motion when anticipating beats 1 and 3 and kind of pulls the reins back when anticipating 2 and 4. With these two techniques, you'll find a world of endless rhythmic options. Now, the question is, how to know which of these options to choose? To walk you through my basic process, I'm going to write a simple drum part to Azalea Town's theme from Pokemon Gold and Silver, because the choices drummers make are always dictated by what a specific piece of music needs. Let's take our basic backbeat groove as our foundation. Right away, the intro gives a solid rhythmic template. These upper voices are accenting beat 1 and the and of 2, and I'll have the drum part mirror that with an anticipation of the kick drum hit on beat 3. Since we have a rhythmic anticipation, I'll add a rhythmic approach note at the end of the bar approaching beat 1 of the following bar, just so we have both techniques on display. Now, we could loop this one bar groove for the entire song and have a drum part that is functional, but let's push ourselves. We'll take this first bar, change one note, and voila! We have a second bar. I simply added an approach note to the snare hit on beat 4, mirroring the rhythm of the bass line. Alternating these two bars will make our drum part seem much more sophisticated than it really is. A 2-bar drum groove feels a lot more human than a 1-bar drum groove, even with this subtle of a difference between the two bars. Adding or changing just one note is enough to give a rhythmic question and answer effect that can bring a groove to life. You also can arrange 2 bars into a 4-bar groove by using an AAAB pattern, or an AABB pattern, or write a 3rd bar and use an ABAC pattern. There's a lot of different ways to phrase a drum part using just a couple of variations on one idea, but the shorter length of sections in Azalea Town mean our 2-bar groove will serve just fine. And here is where we come to form. Good drum parts don't just fit the vibe of an arrangement, they guide the music through the course of its entire form, acting like an orchestra's conductor from inside the band. Let's zoom out and
Yep. Definitely. I was definitely more of the single player, not the conductor. Actually, let's go back
into
here.
broad form. Parts don't just fit the vibe of an arrangement, they guide the music through the course of its entire form, acting
Guide the music through its
like an orchestra's conductor from inside the band. Let's zoom out and paint a broader picture of our drum part as a whole. You'll need to figure out what kind of default groove you want for each different section, just like how we did for the beginning. This could be a simple change, like moving the hi-hat to the ride cymbal for our constant layer, or we could construct a whole new groove. It all depends on what the music needs, but each new section should present some change in texture. Azalea Town has just 2 sections, A and B, each 8 bars long. We have our A section groove already, and for the B section, I'm hearing that basic Motown beat I mentioned earlier. I'll stretch it out into a 2-bar groove by adding 1 more kick hit on the end of 2 in the second bar. Now we have the broad strokes done, and it's time to fill in some details. Dynamics are a crucial part of humanizing drum parts, and the drum
prima fortissimo.
is in charge of a song's dynamic roadmap. Azalea Town is just a looping AAB form in the game, but for our purposes I'm going to stretch it out into an AABAB form. Let's start at a medium volume, kick it up a bit for our B section, make the following A nice and soft, and then bring it up to make the final BR climax. There are many ways a drummer can control a part.
Wow, holy crap. Dynamic. Sometimes I wonder, what did I got myself into? Oh man, dynamic. Oh, but you know, I really honestly do think that this is actually good for me to learn. Yeah, being a solo developer is gonna be quite something. But I think with learning all these things, and yeah, sure, just throwing myself out there, you know, just drinking from, or you know, drinking from the fire hose, I really think that this actually kind of reminded me a little bit of what I've about the times I used to play an instrument. I definitely remember seeing patterns, and I know I had a classmate who's actually really pretty good. He's able to make up notes and patterns that impressed the our conductor, our violinist. He was just like, and I don't know, he just made a little not random notes, but like you can play in the same segment, but he just added his own little thing. And the conductor noticed. It's like, oh hey, that's you making, you know, did you just play that out? It's like, yeah, oh yeah, I just did. And so, yeah. My gosh.
Parts dynamic. In general, the washier the cymbal, the more intense it sounds, and adding or removing notes from the groove can make a part sound busier or more laid back. The first 2 A's are fine as is, but for the B section I'm going to play the hi-hats open just a bit to give a little sizzle. This will give the section a step up in intensity. To note a half-open hi-hat, put a circle with a line through it above the hi-hat notes. I've also seen this written using diamond note heads, although I prefer the circle due to reasons that we'll get to later. For our quiet A section, I'm going to break it down to just the kick drum pattern, but play it softly on the ride cymbal. Then halfway through the section, I'll do a big crescendo on the floor tom and snare to bridge the gap between our lowest point and highest point dynamically, since the climax of the piece is going to come right after. For this final B section, I'll keep the Motown beat, but move my right hand to a washy ride cymbal and put in lots of giant fills. That's right, there's just one piece we're missing that'll tie all of this together. Drum fills. The real purpose of a drum fill isn't sounding cool or hyping up the audience, it's to telegraph the feeling of each new section of the piece. This means setting up all of the changes in grooves or dynamics before they happen, as
Telegraph. Whoa.
well as piece, cool, or this together. Drum fills. The real purpose of a drum fill isn't sounding cool or hyping up the audience, it's to telegraph the feeling of each new section of the piece. This means setting up all of the changes in grooves or dynamics before they happen, as well as simply marking the form of the piece. I should note that if you're writing out a chart,
Let's have the dynamic set up the groove
before they happen, as well as simply marking the form of the piece. I should note that if you're writing out a chart to give to a real live drummer, you can leave these out and just trust that they'll add their own fills appropriately. At most, you can write the word fill above any specific bars where you really for sure want them to go bananas. If you're programming a drum part, or just very anal about your sheet music, this is my approach to writing fills. First, you'll want to drop one at the end of every section of the form. I like...
Oh, okay. So note, drop at the end of each section.
Like using short fills early on in the arrangement, like 1 or 2 beats long, and saving longer fills for later on to have a sense of growth throughout the piece. But the most important thing is setting up each section properly. Moving from our first A to our second is a lateral move dynamically, so a super simple 1-beat setup is enough to keep momentum up. I chose a slightly more complex fill moving to the B section and tried to make it Motown-esque to match the B section's groove. Now the crash symbol is used to release all of the tension built up by the drum fill, and it's written on the first ledger line above the staff on beat 1 of the following bar. But don't over-crash. A pet peeve of mine is when drummers, usually rock drummers, let's be honest, wail on the crash at the start of every single phrase. It's like, oh, has it been 4 bars already? I know it's idiomatic of some styles of rock and metal, but it still just bugs me. You gotta save your crashes so that they really count when you need them to. Anyways, setting up the quiet A section requires a fill that slows down our momentum. Making use of space is key for that. There isn't much to say about the note-for-note specifics when it comes to writing fills. It's an issue of vocabulary. Listen to great drummers, notice what they play for fills, and steal their ideas unashamedly. Seriously, you can't copyright a drum fill. They are there to be stolen, like juicy, rhythmic fruit, ripe for the picking. I also like to sprinkle in extremely small fills at the end of each melodic phrase, or usually the end of every 4th bar, just to make each section feel a little more alive. For these, one added snare or kick hit will work great, or better yet, one added open hi-hat note. An open hi-hat begs to be closed, and opening the hi-hat 1/8 note before a snare hit makes that snare feel oh so satisfying. Notate an open hi-hat by drawing a circle above it, and a closed hi-hat by drawing a plus sign above the next note. This is where the symbol for a half-open hi-hat comes from. It's the open hi-hat circle cut in half. The final thing I want to add before we listen through our whole part is hits. In the drummer's duties rankings, just behind dropping fat beats and setting up sections is catching hits. These are rhythms that some or all of the rest of the band are playing together, either to emphasize part of the melody's rhythm, just as a background figure, or any other reason really. Doubling a rhythm like this in the drums will give it extra power, and you can do this 2 main ways, by grooving through the hits or filling through the hits. Grooving through the hits requires that you catch the rhythm of said hits without interrupting the groove. Depending on the level of intensity, putting the rhythm in the crash and kick while leaving the snare in its original pattern is simple but effective. Or you can sub the crash out for an open hi-hat or ride cymbal bell for a softer version of the same effect. The important thing is not to mess with the rhythmic engine of your original groove while layering these hits over top. Filling through the hits is exactly what it sounds like. You make sure you catch those hits, and then the rest of each bar is yours to go hog wild on. I'm going to treat this emphasized rhythm in the back half of each B section as hits to be caught, grooving through them on the first B and filling through them on the second. Now, finally, let's put all of that together and hear how it sounds. I present to you my sample drum part to Pokemon Gold and Silver's Azalea Town theme.
Oh, yes.
Not too shabby. Before we go, I just want to emphasize that you should definitely steal from songs and drummers that you like. Like I said, there's no copyright on fills, there's no copyright on grooves, they're made to be stolen. You can hear the same drum parts repeated over and over in all kinds of different songs, and it's because drums are a very utilitarian instrument. No one will give a shit about the nuanced intricacies of the part except for drummers. For everyone else, it just has to work. Thanks for indulging me in this slight step out of my usual content, and look forward to more video game music analysis videos coming soon. Consider checking out my Patreon if you liked what you saw, and consider buying a notebook over at the Musician's Notebook if you need something to write all of your new brilliant drum parts down on. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
So, if I'm getting this all correct, you can. So there is a sense of talent, natural talent. Like you pick up beats, and you're gonna make the tone. You're gonna give you have more talent in the music than other people, and people, and vice versa. Some people are less talented than with music. But I think the game, I think it's only really applying to learning and understanding concepts, like how fast you learn math or how to read, right? I think that being said, but where I think real true skill, I want to separate talent and skill, right? Talent is like your inherent, like, oh, like they said, right? Asians know math. Right, okay. Sure, there's probably less, like, understanding patterns of numerical values and learning things could be a talent, but skill, I really feel like it's a persistence. Right? You can be talented and you'll be persisting. You're very gonna be very, very skilled, right? And then obviously there's different levels of skill. Like you can, within masters and masters, right? The talent is where it just pushes up, but where just watching these videos kind of gives me a sense of hope, despite just dumpstering me about drum parts. But I feel like I'm learning them and I'm getting appreciating, and of course with me not just being a consumer, right, of music like anybody else, never really understanding, and now I'm in the position of going and create these music. I think this this, we're living like they said, the old adage says, we're living in a time where there's just great wealth of knowledge, and it depends on you to go ahead and make it your own, right? So, I think I'm going to go ahead and watch one more from 8-Bit Music Theory, simple chords, how simple chord progression works, and then I think I'll probably call it a day. With how he's using Reaper too earlier, if you see it, using Reaper earlier, my heart is kind of telling me to go with Reaper. It's not like I want a challenge, because I know the cost of this challenge is just the time, but I want the ability to be able to do many things in the long run, right? So that when I go to do game jams or my current project, if I needed to go and help whatnot, I could help with the audio and just do a little bit here, a little bit here, and art here. That's kind of going to gives me a better sense of, as a game designer, right? Game designer, sure, developer, right? But if I need to kind of coordinate certain things, which I think I'm going to need to, between, within, at the very least within my group, kind of getting a sense, and hopefully, because there is a sense where, because I'm, I know I'm gonna say this again, but because I'm new, there is a sense, I feel a little bit like everybody else's skills is like up here, because they're either their education and their mastery, they got a head start, is so much more ahead than me. But that is not to say is that I cannot develop my own skills as well. So I have to take hope and continue on, and building great stuff, at this point. So without further ado, let me go ahead and just click on this. 2 years ago.
Disney Pixar's Win or Lose knocks it out of the park.
This is good because it's high stakes, and that's the kind.
Okay. First off, you know what? Give shout-outs to 8-Bit Music Theory. I really appreciate building the drums, and I definitely taking my notes, and we'll be thinking about music composition as I'm going to create my track, my songs, but definitely though, I think like everybody says, go with small chunks, be familiar with the software, and with with the software, and then just little by little, right? Just like coding, little by little, get yourself more familiar, and then you'll learn, and then hopefully, you eventually, the more time you spend on it, the more you're going to be an expert, right? Just, if you want to be an expert faster, think about it, right? Be intentful of what you're trying to do, and learn from, if it worked out, why it worked out, and why it didn't work out. So let me click on this.
There's a modern style of writing harmony that can be kind of hard to analyze. The soft, 4-chord pop song type of style that you no doubt have heard plenty of before. It's not difficult to analyze because of its complexity, but actually because of its simplicity. If you have a stack of chord extensions a mile high, or chords coming in from distant scales and keys all over, that is enough to draw your attention and make you think about why the composer made the choices he did. But if a chord progression exists entirely in one key with basic voicings and no big surprises, it can be hard to form an analysis more meaningful than saying, this is in the key of F. Especially if the chords don't follow the established tropes and progressions of functional harmony like the 4-5-1 cadence and all of its offspring. There are still mechanics at play that make these modern, harder to define chord progressions work, though, and today I want to present to you a way to think about chord progressions that might help you make informed decisions in your own writing, looking at examples written in this more modern style. These examples were all requested by some of my highest level supporters on Patreon, and I cannot thank them, and all my patrons, enough for their generous support. If you want to join them in helping support what I do, feel free to check out my Patreon page. The basic idea I want to put forward is that you can break all chord movements down into 3 categories. Movement by fourth, movement by third, and movement by step. Now that might...
Huh? What the heck is that? Third, fourth, third step? Is this like Harry Potter? Like 9 3/4 or something? I don't know, man. This sounds like black magic to me.
It seemed like too few categories, but let me explain. There are 7 chords that naturally occur in any given key, called the diatonic chords, meaning that from any one chord in a key, you have 6 basic options of where you could move next when writing a chord progression. When you count the distance between the chord you're on and each option of where to move next, we can sort these potential targets into pairs to make the 3 categories I just mentioned. See, when looking at a chord progression, there's nothing to indicate whether you're moving up or down to get to the next chord. So a C moving to an A minor chord could be seen as moving up a 6th or down a 3rd. Same with moving from C to E minor, is that up a 3rd or down a 6th. Each interval can be inverted to make another interval. 5ths invert to 4ths, 6ths invert to 3rds, and 7ths invert to 2nds, and vice versa. These interval buddies have a close relationship with each other in music generally, and when talking about chord movements, they share similar qualities. Movement by a 4th feels the strongest, and emphasizes the chord being moved to the most. Movement by step feels less strong, but still creates musical momentum and doesn't emphasize either chord above the other. Movement by a 3rd feels the weakest and is traditionally seen more as an extension of the first chord than an emphasis of the second. Chords from outside the key can be seen as alterations on these categories, moving up a minor 3rd rather than a major 3rd, for example. By careful arrangement of even basic chords, composers can establish a key while emphasizing different chords from that key.
Shit. I have not. Yeah, I agree. Really challenging and really engaging at the same time. I feel like I'm just like a goldfish right now. Yeah. Teaching calculus to a goldfish. I can learn calculus. But not as a goldfish. Okay. All right. Oh man, this is a 30-minute video. Ooh. What?
Life's better when your dreams are protected under our roof.
Good to see everything's okay. So just do me a favor and picture a giant pizza. And this huge pizza represents all of music theory. Now, in order to write and produce music professionally at the industry standard, you really only need to know a relatively small slice of this pizza. Most of it is pretty unnecessary. And after 15 years of writing music and 10 years producing professionally, I'm going to give you the exact amount of music theory that you need in order to make incredible music. Feel free to watch this video.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Please do.
Multiple times if you need. You can take notes if you want to, or if you have a piano in front of you, or your software like Ableton or Logic open, it's going to help you learn it even faster. Also, if you're watching this video and you're thinking, I really like this teaching style, and you feel like it's really helpful for you, I do have a paid course, and this video is actually part of that paid into the music theory. Alright, so hopefully by the end of this music theory section of the course, this whole piano roll and keyboard won't be so intimidating anymore, and you'll know your way around it just like a pro. A piano roll may look like a lot of notes, but it's really just 12 notes that repeat over and over. You'll get the hang of it in no time. Okay, so let's start with the notes. All music is made up of 12 notes. The white keys, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and the black keys, B flat, D flat, E flat, F sharp, and A flat. The distance between two notes that are right next to each other is referred to as a half step. So for example, from A to B flat, this is a half step. And the distance between two notes that are one note away from each other is called a whole step. So from A to B is a whole step, but from B to B flat is a half step. Whole step, half step. Now all of these black notes, they can be referred to as either sharps or flats. To keep it simple for this course, we're going to refer to all of them as flats except for F sharp right here. So an easy way to remember the names of the black notes is start with a white note like B, for example, and then if you fall down flat from B, that's a B flat. So for example, E, if we fall down flat a half step, that's E flat. So there's A and a half step below that is A flat, B, then there's B flat, D has D flat below it, E has E flat below it, and then for F sharp, it can be either G flat or it can be F sharp. But it's more simple just to call them all flats except for F sharp. That's the way a lot of music is written and notated anyway, so it'll keep things simple for you. So let's just review the names of all the notes really quickly. We have A, B flat, B, F sharp. From this A to this A,
one octave.
That's called an octave. Octaves are 12 notes apart. They're also the same note. One is just higher and one is just lower. These are all over the piano. The reason why these notes sound the same is because this A is at 440 hertz and this A is at 880 hertz. So it doubles.
Oh yeah, it doubles. So yeah, you just boop, boop, go up
as it goes up, and it gets cut in half as it goes down. So now that you know the 12 notes that all Western music is made up of, it's time to start learning scales. I think of this as what notes sound good together chronologically. Just to make things easy for you, it's helpful to remember that the black notes are in sets of 3 and sets of 2. Now if you go to any set of 2 black notes on the piano and just go to the first white note to the left of those, so this note, that's the C note. So this is C, this is C, this is C. They're all an octave apart, and they're all the first white note directly to the left of these 2 black notes. Starting with the C scale is really easy because the C major scale is all the white notes in a row starting with C. So we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then back.
Okay, A, and B.
To C. Now, in music theory, each of these notes are numbered. This is called the Nashville number system, and it's going to be really, really helpful to learn this, especially when we get into chords. So,
the only thing I know about Nashville is Nashville, Tennessee, and the Nashville hot chicken wings.
So for the C major scale, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then back to C. An easy way to remember the major scale is that it starts on the root note, it skips one note, it skips one note, it slides over, then it skips one note, skips one note, skips one note. So it's skip, skip, over one, skip, skip, skip. Or in musical terms like we learned earlier, half, whole. Remember, whole step is when you skip a note, so from C to D, and half step is notes right next to each other, like D and D flat. Now, it is essential that you commit these to memory because they're going to be the foundation for all the chords and melodies in your songwriting and production that we're going to learn later on in the course. This is also going to help you be able to write and play songs in.
Okay. Dang. Well, I mean, right now we only got 3 minutes left, and we haven't. I think it's still fine that we haven't gotten, haven't really gotten to go ahead and play, test out the audio software. Yeah, because I think, as a devlog journal, in-depth devlog video vlog, really, we're just going to figure out we're just gonna record this whole overtime progression. You know, it's gonna be funny if anybody's actually watching this all the way to the end. You know, I definitely would thank you for watching this. You know, give you that whole YouTube, subscribe, blah. You know, if this is YouTube, but you know, I'm going to say is that this is going to probably serve as these things I'm logging every time. It's going to serve as a bedrock for something. Yeah. So for a nice video content or nice videos content. You know, I just kind of wish Twitch it's not so stingy. You know, I mean, sure, it's owned by Amazon, but come on. You know, I don't know. Amazon's tenant. That's them being frugal and stuff. It's I don't know about that. But you know, with YouTube, it's gonna store a bunch of different videos. So you know, right now I'm just really glad I'm learning. This is gonna be quite some time to digest in. But yeah, you know. So I guess another question I had to think about is on the next dev stream, right? Maybe I should go ahead and make, you know what, I should put it as a development stream, right? I'm a solo dev, right? I'm a developer. I'm a sound developer now, or developer wearing multiple hats. So, you know, at the very least, I think it'll probably be wise for me, yeah, to just start to learn, download Reaper, start to learn it, and really get a feel of how it works, and apply some of like these lessons, because I do remember back in my orchestra days, you know, there are different sections of the music, different parts of the piece. So I gonna need to think about the piece that I'm needing to do for my intro, the main menu screen, as well as the game in-game screen. Yeah, during the gameplay. So I need to think about how am I going to structure out the gameplay. But that's okay. Yeah, that's it. Well, you know, it's 12:01 on my end. You know, thank you guys for watching. You know, thank you for watching for the late night game dev stream. Would appreciate if you hit the follow button. Follow button. You know, it would mean a lot to me, and yeah, and I think this is Wednesday, so yeah, Friday we're going to actually, you know what, we should go and play the games, right? Play some of the games, and then we can perhaps dissect the music. But you know, I'm getting ahead of myself. So thank you guys. You know, this is Charles signing off for the night. Talk to y'all later. Friday. Peace.